This episode of DoD TV is brought to you by HHA Sports, leading the industry in single pin technology for the past 14 years. Range, dial, shoot.
Yes, sir.
Hey, I just shot socks.
That's awesome, man. That is awesome. Good for you.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh. I've always wanted to shoot a buck in the snow with my bow. Like, that's been a dream of mine for forever. So this is cool.
Welcome back to another episode of Deer Season 21. It just keeps rolling on. Terry and I have had a heck of a year here, and the other night had a hunt that kind of capped it off for us. On January 4th, had a really close encounter with a deer we call Socks. Had him out there at 150 yards with the muzzleloader. Just couldn't quite put it together. So the next night, Ben and I went in there, got aggressive, went in, had the bow in hand, and was able to put it all together, put a good shot on him. So why don't you check it out right here on Deer Season 21. Thanks for tuning in. Well, Socks is a deer that Terry had talked about him when I first started working for him, and I know before I started working for him in 2018, he had a couple encounters with him. One was on a little biologic plot, kind of tucked back in some really tight bedding cover, so the history was already being built before I was even came to work on the farm. Socks was a deer that we never really got a lot of pictures of him. He was pretty reclusive, and we didn't really know much about him. And then when I was burning in the spring of 2020, I was able to find one of his sheds. It's kind of cool what those controlled burns will uncover sometimes. You may find a shed or a dead buck, and that's something I really enjoy doing every spring on the farm, but it was pretty cool to pick up, and little did I know a few years later that I'd be able to wrap my tag around that deer. Terry and Yapper and I went into a spot where there was a big standing bean field, and there was one deer we were looking for, a deer we call Little Caesar, and we ended up having a phenomenal night. We had a whole pile of bucks come on the field. We had an 8-point we call Lucy 1, the broken rack buck. We saw Little Gnarly that night. That's a deer Terry ended up killing earlier this year. But then who would show up but Socks? So as soon as Socks came around the corner, I was like, man, that's the deer I found the shed off this spring on the burn up there. And we were kind of sitting there and just kind of took in the show. And he put on an absolute spectacle that night. He came out, worked a bunch of scrapes, chasing does, bird up, pushing bucks off the field. It was absolutely phenomenal to watch that. Just a big old deer, and just kind of sat back and took it in. And Terry and Yapper and I, we were in amazement. It was a heck of an evening.
What an incredible evening. I mean, we're seeing some racks here tonight. Just taking it all in. This is the way this field used to be years ago. We are enjoying it. I mean, this is nice, seeing these bucks moving tonight. Pretty cool stuff.
Well, in late November this year, right before Thanksgiving, we got the first picture of Socks this year. And for whatever reason, he threw a really funky side, and right away I was like, man, that deer looks really cool. We could tell he was super mature. He'd be somewhere between 8 and 10 this year. Just a super old gnarly deer. And Terry's like, you know what, if we get an opportunity, you can shoot him this year if you want to. And instantly I was enamored with him. Well, here it started to cool down, and towards the late season, we finally got a daylight picture of him there on a little biologic maximum plot down. It was a little hidden food plot, and we're like, you know what? During late season, if we get a whole bunch of cold temperatures and snow, he may come up onto this big bean field where we had the encounter with him the previous November. Well, Ben and I went in there on the last night of muzzleloader season, and who would walk out but Socks? He came out, worked his way onto the field, and he just never worked his way into gun range. Had the muzzleloader out the window, kind of waiting on him to get in there, and for whatever reason, him and a couple other deer got wiggy and spooked, and I think we may have to go back in there tomorrow with the bow.
That was the deer we came in here to kill. And unfortunately, when he finally got in range there, he turned and was facing us when I opened the window. This one doe here, I think she caught a little puff of wind or slip in the wind. We got a southeast, so it's blowing here. I think it just swirled a little bit. And unfortunately, he never turned and gave me a broadside there. I felt good on him. but he just would not give me a shot. Man, that stinks. That was close.
Well, on January 4th when we saw him, he came out and he walked right past one of our box blinds on the north end of the field there. So we said, you know what, there's really tight bedding cover there. There's a lot of cedars. We said the next night we got to use the bow. Don't have the long range power of that nitro fire. So we're gonna slip into that box, gonna get in there really early, and hopefully it does the same thing 2 nights in a row.
Here's to never missing a day of hunting camp. Because with DeerCast, you can take camp with you all season long. Get ahead of your game.
Chilly out. We'll see. Well, there was a couple deer on the field there, so we bumped them off with the buggy. I'd rather bump them with the buggy than us walking in. So it might have been the wrong move, but there was probably 8 or 9 of them out there. They tipped off. Hopefully they won't go very far. They'll come right back out. So I'm gonna grab the bow and get in there. Got the VXR. Got the Mission Sub 1. Hopefully we can kill something tonight.
Well, the next night, Ben and I, we slipped in there and we got in really early. There was already a couple deer on the field, so we drove in with the buggy, bumped them off with the buggy, and then we made a mad sprint to get down there into that blind before the deer piled back on the field. Those super cold temperatures, you bump them off, they don't go very far.
Well, we made it in here, and right when we climbed in, I don't know what happened, but a bunch of deer came running out. They ran right past us. One really nice buck. Big 3-year-old that we know pretty well. He's got a split G2 on the one side. But we're hoping the deer should come out from down here. They like to bed. There's a lot of really thick thermal cover off the end of this field. They're working their way up to the standing beans. Last night, one of our shooters walked by this blind deer we call Socks. So hopefully he does that again tonight.
Well, we got in there, slipped up in the blind, and literally we'd been in the blind for 5 minutes and the does started pouring on. We had probably 20 does pile onto the field right away within 15 to 20 minutes. These late season temperatures, if you have a good food source, it can be absolutely phenomenal. Well, we're sitting there watching those does, and all of a sudden I turn around and look to the north, and a little spike pops out, and right behind them, there's Socks.
What's he doing?
He's cutting across.
That was our boy. That's good to know he's up on his feet already. He just went in down here. So that's good to know about where he's at. So we're gonna be sitting with our eyes glued down here for a little while, I think. We already got probably 20 deer out on the field, but that's good to see him. Know he's up on his feet. He's close.
It was 3 o'clock when he popped out, and went back in the bedding cover there, and we thought there was a really good chance he could pop back out before dark. Well, about 30 minutes later, we look up to the north, and there's a little doe coming around the corner, and then a big doe, and who's right behind him but Socks.
Is he still coming?
He's stopped, he's looking.
Come on, big boy. Ready.
Okay.
You coming still?
He's feeding on something. I gotta figure it out.
It's gonna be a Chinese fire drill, depending on what side he comes down.
He's coming. Okay. What do you want me to do?
It all depends on what side he comes down.
Well, that little doe came in, and Ben and I were sitting there, what side of the blind is he gonna go down? Because that blind's right in the middle of the field. That little doe went running down the west side, and Socks was right on her heels.
see him fall. I'm gonna drop this for you. Where's he at?
He's running now. He's over on my side.
You good?
I'm good.
Brad.
You good?
Yep.
Dude,
Did you nail him? Did you hit
it
him?
looked a fuzz high, but it should have been right through the top of his lungs there.
Put it here, dude.
Dude, that
Oh
deer,
my god.
that deer is old. He's like 9 or 10. We've only seen him twice or 3 times the last 2 years. Today we've seen him 2 nights in a row. We had him last night. I almost killed him with a gun. And I came in, I just shot him with a bow. Dude, my arrow's bright red. Like bright red. And I can see blood.
Heck yeah, dude. Heck yeah. That's awesome, dude.
Oh my gosh. Dude, I'm gonna call Terry real quick. Dude, what was he like 27, 28
Oh,
yards?
that was so perfect, man.
I literally just texted Terry like 5 minutes ago and said, oh dude, my arrow's covered in blood.
Dude sucks. Yes.
Can you believe that? He chased that little doe.
Oh my.
Yes, sir.
Hey, I just shot Socks.
Did you really?
Yeah, he came in, he came back out. He was chasing a little doe fawn and she ran right by the box. He came by at like 15 yards and I shot him at 25 with my vertical going right down the edge.
That's awesome, man. That is awesome. Good for you.
He walked the whole way down the field and he walked right by the box. I mean, he was 15 yards from the box and I let him get, he was 24, 25, quartering away, stopped him and just drilled him. I think he ducked a tiny bit and it was a fuzz high, but I mean, I could see blood pumping out of him while he was running off and my arrow was bright red.
That's awesome, Forrest. I couldn't be happier for you, man.
Thank you.
Did Ben, was he on him? Good.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, I was on.
Yeah, he was on him good. I looked over, I could see him full frame when I shot. Oh man, it was cool.
Good. That's Ben's first buck kill.
Yeah.
Oh, this is awesome, dude.
Well, good for you. I'm happy for you both. That's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Now your work begins.
Yeah, that's no joke. So we're gonna watch it back and give him maybe 15 minutes, but I'm 99% sure he should be dead right in there. I mean, it drilled him. So, all right.
Good for you. I'm happy as hell for you, buddy.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That's cool. Long season. What a way to finish it out.
Oh yeah, I've always wanted to shoot a buck in the snow with my bow. Like that's been a dream of mine for forever. So this is cool. It's really
That's
cool.
awesome. Well, you should be able to blood trail him.
Yeah, there should definitely be some blood.
Well, let me know as soon as you find him. Let me know, and damn, tonight be a good reason to celebrate, buddy.
Alrighty, will do.
Okay, congrats again.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Oh,
All right,
man.
see ya.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Heck.
Dude, I'm jacked up right now. Alright, well, we reviewed the hit. We went and looked at DeerCast track. It looked high because he started to duck, but I should have either hit that aortic artery or high lung or both. And we can see my arrow soaked in blood, and it looks like we can see some blood in the snow going down in there. So we gave him about 20 minutes and gave him a little bit of time to expire. So we're gonna go look at the arrow, try to look at a little bit of the blood. We should be able to see it real easy in the snow, and just kind of give it a look over, see what we think, and if it doesn't look good, we'll back out for a little while. But I think he should be dead. Looking at DeerCast track, it looks good. Yes, man. That is a cool old buck. He is really old. Dude, that is a deer we call Socks because he's got these white legs. They're really white. But that deer's like, he's like 9 or 10. He was here. I know Terry had a really good encounter with him when he was 4 or 5. He showed up this year, and I don't know what happened. He has that real funky side. It's awesome though. And I loved him. I just thought he was the coolest looking deer. That's awesome. He's a stud. Dude, that's such a cool deer. That side with that trident looking thing. Oh my gosh. Well, we got a little bit of work ahead of us. I think we're gonna go grab the tracker and we're gonna get him out of here and go back and celebrate a little bit because this is one that we have been looking for. Man, he's an awesome deer. That's so cool. Well, I could not be any more excited than to finish my season out with this big old brute. This is a 9 or 10-year-old we call Socks. Had him last night out there, had the nitrifier in hand, almost got it done, but couldn't quite make it happen. Decided not to take the shot, and then went in there tonight, got aggressive, then moved in closer to the bedding there, and took the Mathews and was able to put it to work. He came out, chased a little yearling doe right past about 25, 26 yards, stopped him, quartering away. The Mathews range combo, as you can see, put a heck of a hole in him, and he went maybe 120 yards and piled up. So I could not be any more excited than to wrap my tag around this big old dog and end my season here. It's always been a dream of mine to kill a big old buck in the snow, and was able to do that tonight. So really excited to do that.
We're adding new videos every week, so make sure to click that subscribe button and check out all of our amazing content. This episode of DoD TV was brought to you by Victory Archery, the carbon arrow experts.